Okay, so the big news coming out today looks like that Arsenal are serious about their interest in Sheffield United's number one Aaron Ramsdale. But I think the thing that's surprised most people is the apparent fee being £30 million. Now, look, this happens more regularly than people say. Obviously it's over market value. According to Transfermarkt, anyway, it's around 11 million. And I think Aaron Ramsdale kind of gets a lot of harsh treatment from people. If you look at obviously the Premier League table, Sheffield United got relegated. They were the bottom of the Premier League, and I don't think they were actually the worst team in the Premier League, but they deserve to go down. And I don't really think that's Aaron Ramsdale's fault. And obviously £30 million is absolutely ridiculous, but this has happened before. It happened with Jordan Pickford, and that wasn't really a great transfer for Everton. But I don't think Aaron Ramsdale's actually a bad goalkeeper at all. I don't think he's £30 million good, and I think Arsenal could use that probably a lot better. But I think Arsenal could do a lot worse than Aaron Ramsdale, and I think you can see that from when you compare Aaron Ramsdale's numbers to Bernd Leno's. You know, don't wrong, I'm not saying he's an incredible goalkeeper or better than Bernd Leno, but they're not that dissimilar. If you look at their post-shot expected goals. Actually, by the way, before I get back to this, there's this argument that people make that if you're playing for a bad club, it means that your numbers are always going to be bad. I should probably make that clear that's not really true. Because, if you look at West Brom and Fulham and Leeds, who obviously they had a good season, but they had this third worst defence in the Premier League based on expected goals against. Alphonse Areola and Ivan Meslier had really good seasons. So I think it's irrelevant that he plays for Sheffield United and that Bernd Leno plays for Arsenal. I don't think it's relevant. But if you look at post-shot expected goals, which I think is the best indicator of how good of a shot stopper someone is, Aaron Ramsdale was fine. He was plus 1.9. Obviously, he was off Bernd Leno by quite a bit, but he was still he was still a solid Premier League goalkeeper. Last season, he was above Jordan Pickford, he was above Kasper Schmeichel, he was above Dean Henderson, Edouard Mendy, Rui Patricio, David De Gea. Pretty established Premier League goalkeepers. And look, he was still below Leno, and I'm not saying he's an incredible goalkeeper, but he's still young, and he's clearly a decent, above average Premier League shot stopper. In terms of passing out from the back, I feel like a lot of Arsenal fans don't really like Bernd Leno in that regard. They're basically identical in terms of the amount of long passes they complete. Basically identical. It's a bit better, but it's basically the same, 32.5 to 33.8. But obviously, Aaron Ramsdale's a lot younger, and you could argue that a lot of his longer passes are under more pressure because he's playing for a lower side. So I think he's probably a bit of a better distributor than Bernd Leno, but probably a bit worse of a shot stopper. In terms of stopping crosses, Aaron Ramsdale's clearly a better goalkeeper. His percentage is a bit higher. It's not ridiculously higher, but it's about 1.11 higher. And young goalkeepers are normally pretty bad at this. So the fact that Ramsdale's better than a pretty senior goalkeeper in Bernd Leno to me shows he is a pretty commanding goalkeeper, and that's kind of a good thing to have for a young goalkeeper. And then in terms of how often he comes out of the penalty area, again, very similar to Bernd Leno, but this is kind of irrelevant purely because obviously Sheffield United play a lot deeper than Arsenal, so he has less chance to come off his line, right? But I think what those four statistics show is he's an okay shot stopper that will only improve with experience, and he is a bit behind Leno, but I think that will improve over time. He's okay on the ball, and he's no worse than Bernd Leno, and he's a pretty commanding goalkeeper. And I don't think he's a great goalkeeper. I don't think you should be spending £30 million on him. I think Alphonse Areola has better numbers than Ramsdale and Bernd Leno, and you could probably get him for around 10 mil. But if Arsenal do want a young goalkeeper that can be their number one, Aaron Ramsdale does have pretty decent numbers, and I think it's very harsh to just label him with, oh well, Sheffield United had one of the worst defences. So I don't think this would be, assuming it's not that high of a fee, assuming it's not 30 million, and you could get it for a bit lower, I don't think that'd be a bad signing for Arsenal. He'll be a future England number one probably, or at least pushing with Dean Henderson. He's a pretty commanding goalkeeper, and he's not a bad shot stopper. He's not as bad as football Twitter makes out. Like, he's been getting memed all day, but I don't think he's actually a bad goalkeeper at all. Obviously, there are better options, and I don't think they should do this move. But if they do, he'll be the number two for a year. Then Leno will probably leave, and he'll probably be just a solid, if not spectacular, number one for Arsenal. But that's just my thought on it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, peace.